Hello, Radiant Souls. I'm your host, Angela Ahimsa, and you've tuned in to Feed Your Chakras, broadcasting live from Toronto and streaming globally on Just TV, Roku, Meta, and the NCG television network. And today's guest is an incredible woman. Her name is Helen Pach Goldstein, and she is an author, a world traveler, a skin alchemist, and affectionately known as the Renegade JewBu. And her story is one of resilience, transformation, and unapologetic authenticity. In this conversation, we're going to explore the beauty of becoming and the art of embracing change, living boldly, and finding freedom through self expression and awareness. And Helen will share some insights of her upcoming book, the wisdom she's gained from a life well traveled, and how she continues to inspire others to live vibrantly at every age. Thank you so much for being here with me, Helen.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I just wanted to let the viewers know that Helen and I are actually going to be working together. I have the honor of helping her publish her upcoming book, and it is incredible. So we're going to share a little bit about that. But just to start us off, Helen, what inspired you to write this book, and what message do you most hope that your readers will take away?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I started writing the book 10 years ago, so it took me a while to get going with it. And really, that's a good question. I would say the word is resilience. As a friend of mine said so correctly, I'm the kind of, the doll that you just punch and it comes back, and you just punch and it comes back.
Who's punching?
You remind me of that. You remind me of that doll. And it's in my DNA. My parents had their own stuff, their own crazy stuff. So I think that, I mean, there's a saying I love: don't sweat the small stuff. And mostly it's small stuff. Mostly it is. I mean, we all had big stuff. I mean, my sister died. I mean, we've all had really big stuff, but it's really a question of how you choose to deal with it.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds trite, and it sounds like, what do I know? But I'm heading into my 8th decade. I've been around for a while, and I've had my ups and downs and blah 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 blah.
So, speaking of your Jewish heritage, you call yourself a renegade JewBu, and I actually had somebody even ask me what that meant. So, what does that identity mean to you, and how has it evolved?
That is I love that question. Thank you. Will you give me a moment? I just need to clear my throat.
There we go. I did too.
Thank you so much. So my parents were Holocaust survivors, both of them.
Mhm.
And I won't go into that, but just that they were. So, you either had parents that just doted on you, or they were nuts. And I had the nuts ones.
Mhm.
And I never really did the Jewish thing. I grew up in a Jewish ghetto where, a lot of Holocaust survivors took their children because it felt safe. But I never went to synagogue unless I absolutely had to. And then at 15, I said, I'm not going anymore. I never did any of that. Half my friends weren't Jewish, and went to a school where it was Jewish. And I had Gentile friends there, and I was in a detention a lot and got into trouble a lot and barely got out of high school. I never went to college. I didn't do all the things that Jewish girls of my, when I grew up, was supposed to do. You were supposed to get married. You were supposed to live in the suburbs, all of that, right? I got married. I got married,
Yeah.
but I did not live in the suburbs, and I didn't do any of that at all. So I am Jewish for sure. And, my kids grew up with Tibetan lamas staying with us, and Tai Chi masters and drag queens. And I mean, they did not grow up as typical. I mean, I never wore an apron, and we never went to synagogue unless somebody died or there was a reason to go. I just didn't do it. And just, not to be nasty or anything, it just didn't resonate with me. So I am Jewish. I'm definitely Jewish. But what really resonates for me, and has for over 50 years is Buddhism. And I spent a lot of time in India. I trekked through India. I backpacked, and I was not young then. I was in my mid-30s and went to all the ashram and met the great masters. And I did all that, and I had a practice, and I sold real estate. I was just a kick-ass real estate agent. And my clients, I called them heads with bread. They were people who, like us, okay, people like us, only they had money. And, they had money. And I never dealt with bankers, or even I could have made a lot more money than I did, but I chose who I dealt with. And some of them were Buddhist, some of them weren't, but there was that, that connection that and I didn't really have that many Jewish clients. So I really embraced Buddhism many, many decades ago. I meditate. I've been to Tibet. I've done all that. I've traveled a lot. And Buddhism does it for me. Yet I am Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, so it's really funny. Sometimes I'll go out somewhere. I was walking on the street a few days ago during the high holidays. I never went to synagogue or didn't do any of that. And these guys came up to me, these Jewish guys who were in the hats, the whole bit, and the guy said to me, "Excuse me, are you Jewish?" And I looked at him. I go, "How do you know? How did you know?" He said, "I know." And he hands me this thing that, and then some candles to light, which was very nice. And I gave it, I gave everything away.
I feel like when imbalanced women compete, like when you're, I don't want to say insecure, but when you're not, in love with yourself, then other people's shining or their self-love becomes almost like, it's like a mirror, it's like a threat.
Yeah. Do you have friends that you compete with, or people? Do you have that?
No, I don't like to compete. Like we all stand in our lights, and I like to help lift people up. I feel that if it's if it's a sport, then yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's a time and a place for competition, but I still even think that that's more of just shining and expressing your truth. Like I don't want to compete with everybody. I hope that we all succeed, and shine in our truth. You don't need to compete because you naturally attract what it is that is for you. It's not trying to claim anything,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you're probably, I don't know you. I know you in a business sense, and we've had our dinner together and got to know each other. And, obviously I like you, and I like, I do. I think you're great. You are. I'm not saying that, I don't say it to everybody, but I think you're great. I'm so impressed with the work that you've done, the covers that you've done. You're amazing. And just how smart you are with business, and how you can weave things, here's the situation we have. Okay, look, we'll weave it into this. And, I'm really impressed with you. But I think that we women allow ourselves to fall in love with other women in that heart way.
Oh yeah,
I feel bad that men don't, because it would be so good for them.
You know what? I don't necessarily agree. I do think that some men, more spiritually or awakened men, they are actually now holding like the brotherhood, and the brother circles where they support each other and, help heal those wounds of suppression where they weren't allowed to have emotion because it's not masculine and stuff. So I do think it's changing, but it's definitely, there's more awakened women, I believe, than men at this point.
Which is why they burned us at the stake. No, you can't be better than us.
Years ago.
We're still doing it in a different way, right? But we got a couple of the worst ones,
Thank you both for writing books about it now. Yeah. In spite of the future generations.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel very blessed that, so at Scylla's, beautiful photography, show, I met amazing women who, who said, I love your, but whatever, you know what I mean? It was just
Mm-hmm.
really, it was mostly women anyways, but that's such a blessing that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish more women would allow themselves that. I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah,
I don't compete. I'm not going to be friends with somebody I compete with, or who's competing with me.
I agree. Do you think that women today are afraid of freedom? Because I know that you and me, we're both very like free spirited, and that's kind of led us through life.
Right.
But not everybody's like us. So, do you think that they're afraid of freedom, or maybe just what what they have to kind of sacrifice, or the price of freedom? What is it that you think?
I think it depends on where I mean, I have to be really careful how I say this, but I think it depends on how you were brought up and where you were brought up.
Hmm.
I think that in the Middle East, you don't have much of a choice.
We were both misfits.
Sorry?
We were both misfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it depends, but I think they're afraid of freedom because they don't know what it means.
Mhm. It's like
Right.
the bird that is afraid of leaving the cage.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't know what's on the other.
There's a really interesting story about elephants. I don't know if you know this one. In
I have a feeling I know what you're gonna say because I just got a hit. But
about the chain.
yeah, the chain, and they don't know that they can be free.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'll just say it, that from when they were babies, they were chained up. They were only allowed to walk, a few feet,
Mhm.
very little movement. And
Like,
then at some point, the chain is going to break. They're huge. They take the chain off, but the elephant doesn't move because the elephant doesn't know that they can do that.
mhm.
And I think that's a little bit of what's going on around that question that you asked.
Yeah. The elephants don't know their true power.
No.
Mhm. Okay, wow. So let's bring it back to the book, just because you write with such unfiltered content, and it's like therapy. I think it's going to be really awakening for a lot of women and even men who read it, especially with those punchlines and your anecdotes. And um, did you ever find that you might be too honest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And how does that feel?
It's really, I was at a party the other day and this woman wears white, sort of beige lipstick and outlines it with brown. So ugly. And she's really attractive. This is a really attractive woman.
Mhm.
Every time I see her, I want to say, don't wear that, don't wear that, And the last time I said that to somebody, she was pissed off at me. She said, I've been wearing this since I was a teenager. So I have to hold back. Sometimes I really, it's like, I know you didn't ask me my opinion. And I know some of them want to say, then don't give it to me.
I mean, sometimes maybe it is better to keep your mouth shut, but I'm just not that person.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. Yeah. Somebody once said, I'll never forget this. My ex-husband, we were partners, business partners in real estate. So one of our clients said, cause I'm little, right? I'm like 5 feet tall. And,
Makes me look big.
yeah, well,
That's actually not exactly. I guess I was wearing heels when we met.
yeah, I'm little.
Mm.
And, so somebody said, oh my God, look how little he is. And he said, yeah, but he's got such a big mouth.
And the personality.
Yeah, I do. So back to your question, what made me want to, write the book? Um, well, as part of the spiritual quest, I mean, I've got good stories. I mean, I've seen some gurus who, in the book, I talk about one of the gurus who taught, who was supposed to teach a yoga teacher training, uh, at my studio. And it's a really funny story. It's mostly a funny book. Okay. Mostly because the stories are completely mental. And I remember sitting with him, before, when we first met. And he was an Italian guy from New Jersey who suddenly became a guru. And he said, I don't know. He said, I'm really confused. And I thought, oh my God, what's he confused about? I started, what's going on? And he said, we had just had this big event where we invited a ton of people for the yoga teacher training. And there were about 40 people in the room. I had a yoga studio, so I forgot to mention that. That's important. After I left real estate, I opened up a yoga studio, and it became the largest yoga studio in Canada. I had 56 employees. It was nuts. So I'm sitting with him, and he said, I'm really confused. And I said, what? Like, let me help you. He said, there's so many gorgeous women in the room. I said, yeah. He said, I don't know which one I'm going to sleep with first. I said, you can't, you're not allowed to. You cannot do that. Well, he did. So so there's the dichotomy of him being a guru, right? And having that other part, which is inappropriate, wrong, out of integrity. And so I saw both. And the book is about...
Well, it was all ego. That was actually very egoic, and as a guru, you're supposed to be above the ego. So
Yeah, exactly. And, gurudom really, being a yoga teacher bestows on you this sudden, like, people go, oh, yes, which they didn't do when I was a real estate agent, even though I did really well and I had amazing clients. I mean, I became friends with a lot of them, and I'm still friends with a lot of them. But as a yoga teacher, you're supposed to be on a different level above it all, and all of that. So many of them are full of just of themselves.
Yeah.
But
the beauty in that is, I feel that most people, they go through the system, they do the school, and then they get the career, and then they advance in the career, but it's all in the same line.
Yeah.
So when you experiment, or you explore, and you diversify your skills, your mindset, your, ability to communicate with people, or whatever comes with the territory, you grow and evolve in like so many different ways. And I feel like that is how we actually stay young, is that we're continuing to learn and evolve, not just like become more rigid in this one mindset. No offense to anybody. This is just my own experience and perception on it. But I think that's really beautiful. And I think that's what you touch a lot about, youthfulness and longevity, and not obsessing with aging. But I think a lot of that isn't just even the looks. I think that is all the results of the lifestyle of where you continue to nurture that childlike essence of learning and discovery and venturing into the unknown.
Well, it's really funny. I mean, sometimes I think my kids think that I'm the kid and they're the mother. Do you understand that when you have tattoos on your fingers, that people will think that you've just gotten out of jail? And I said, wow, let them. And he just looks at me like, they're like, who's the mother and who's, they're 52. I have twins, so they're 52 years old. And I'll just tell you an excerpt, one thing that happened, and you'll really laugh at this. So I had the book edited by a woman in California. She did a terrible job, didn't do a good job. And so she came, I was leaving to come back to Toronto, and she came to collect some money and to say goodbye to me. She's lovely, but it was the wrong energy. I mean, our beloved Guy Crittenden did.
It's a guy.
We love him. We love Guy. We love you, Guy.
It's actually his birthday. Yeah, his birthday party.
Right. We're going. He is just the most patient, beautiful man. He did such a great job editing, and just love him. So anyway, so she came to collect the money. So the woman says to my daughter, the one with the twin daughters, she said, so like, what do you think about your mom living with a hooker and her pimp in Montreal? And my daughter goes, Mother, you lived with a hooker and a pimp in Montreal? I said, yeah, but it was nice. It was like Expo 67. I couldn't find a place to live. Somebody suggested it would be a good match. It didn't last for long. And she said, oh my God. I said, it was good. I saw a different part of life.
Yeah.
So, and I do that, unfortunately and fortunately, I do a lot of fire, ready, aim instead of I fire too quickly and I don't always think of the consequences.
I feel like maybe that's more of you going with the flow and also just
Yeah,
intuition, sometimes I, will read a book because it was recommended to me or something, but I would never have done it otherwise. But it's usually, I find that when things come to me, they're usually aligned in some way, shape, or form, at least a temporary, passage.
does it really work? Does it work out mostly?
Yeah, if I feel right about it, like if I feel, it depends on how it feels. Like sometimes people might recommend something because they have their own intentions, but I'll feel that.
Yeah,
Know? But if I feel like it's an alignment or I'm kind of curious or open to it, maybe I won't like open up right away, but I'll still like explore it as an option because you never know where it could lead, right? So
exactly. Every single
nothing is coincidence.
Yeah, no, every job I've ever had. I moved to Montreal when I was 19, I think, to work for British Airways, and I'd never. I mean, where's Montreal?
Yeah.
And it was during Expo, and I just did it. I mean, there's an opportunity, and it's okay. I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't really. I'd only been on a flight once, and it's just you have to feel like, what does it feel like? And I trust, how people say they trust their gut.
Mm-hmm.
I trust my gut. And I know in my gut, in this chakra here, the power chakra,
Mm-hmm.
I know if my gut hurts, if I get like a ugh,
Mm-hmm.
walk away.
Yeah.
And if there's a little bit of a flutter, yeah. And so when I don't listen is when I get into trouble, big trouble. But I've learned to listen, and that's a big one.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're kind of coming to the end, so I wanted to touch on a few things before we go. But first, I just wanted to bring up these amazing creams that you make, your skin alchemy and self love,
Mm.
where you merge beauty, aging, and authenticity, especially as a glamour that you are.
Glam.
Yeah, and do you want to just let us know a little bit about that and what it does? Because she actually put some on me, and it was really, really
Made out of beef fat. And your grandmother or great grandmother, Angela, would do that. She didn't have Procter and Gamble. She would go and get some fat, whether it was pork or whatever.
But you also have a vegan variety too, right? You don't.
Yeah, I have a vegan variety as well, for sure. But so the cream is made out of Wagyu beef fat, and it's sourced locally. It's grass fed. Um, it's humanely processed, as they say. So with Wagyu beef fat and gold and silver colloidal water and all different
And your essential oils that you sourced.
yeah, amazing frankincense and myrrh from 3 different places. And in the background, I don't know if you can hear it, but I have a machine that is based on Nikola Tesla's work. And so it zap with his energy, just zap. I'm going to make some more. I'm just making up a new batch.
Very intentional, and she puts a lot of
Love.
medicine and love into it. So I just want to share that. What do you use as the base for the vegan version?
Moringa.
Moringa.
Moringa is amazing, and people are just hearing about it now. Moringa
It saved me when I had parasites
yeah, it's an amazing. So I use moringa cream and moringa oil and different oils that you would know. And the thing I think that's the most healing is the gold and silver colloidal water.
Yeah, that's actually my friend. He's a cancer patient right now, and he's doing an independent research study. And that is in the colloidal gold is something that he has to drink. And he is actually he's not doing, radiation or anything. And he says it's horrible to drink, but he's doing a lot of planets, but it cleans from the inside out, but it also goes straight into the skin and cleans that way.
Well, the colloidal silver and gold is unusual to have both in one
Yeah,
in a
usually
bottle. And it was created by a very eccentric doctor, English doctor who lived in Toronto, who just said, I hate the whole medical system. I'm going to become a healer. And he created that. And unfortunately, he died a few years ago. And I have bottles and bottles of his stuff, thankfully. But that is one of the, it's a combination of the Wagyu beef fat, which is extraordinarily healing. You should look it up. It's amazing. And the colloidal silver and all the different oils and the energy and all of that. I make it on full moon.
Yeah, but she definitely infuses it with intention.
And love.
Yes. So back to the book, because we're running out of time now, and we're doing a launch. We're actually doing our launch together because our books are very different, but also touch on, they have a kind of a similar umbrella of self-help, self-love, self-discovery. So we are doing our launch together on November 13th.
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yes. If I could just say something, I want to say that, Angela, I have never met anybody. Well, as I said, my clients were heads of the thread. So I had a lot of creatives, a lot of names I'm not going to drop that you would know. You would know who they are. And I have never met anybody as creative as you, who also as creative in business. Like, you're really smart. You're really savvy. You can see opportunities, and you get it. Like, you understand, and it's amazing to work with you. We decided that we weren't going to be working together. We would be working together, which is play and work. So it's just, so far it's been great. It's been really. He's created a book cover that I sent out to 25, 30 people who I trust, and they're all coming back with, oh my God, this is incredible.
I'm going to post it here in the replay so everybody can see a sneak peek of this epicness. We're actually going to make it art so that people can buy it, because it's epic. And once you read her book, or you're just the first few chapters, you're going to realize how epic her book is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That is so kind. Yes. And so she made another version. So we have two versions of it. And here's the extraordinary part. So I said, okay, I've got another version. And I'm getting back 50% of people like the first version, 50% love the second. And then it's like, oh my God.
But I think the one looking right at the camera is better.
Yeah. But in any case, I've never met anyone, Andy Warhol, she was the business person and saw opportunity, and he was an artist. But you're an anomaly, and it's great to watch you create.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Yeah. Really been an honor and a privilege.
Well, I likewise. Feeling mutual. And I'm so excited about your book. And if you're watching this, you are invited. You're in Toronto. We're going to be posting the RSVP very shortly, and it's exciting. There's also going to be some recipes from my book, like I'm publishing with Build Up the Parasite Purge, and then there's going to be entertainment, there's going to be door prizes, and also fun.
We're going to dance. We're going to have great dance music. Angela, who I don't know if all of you know, is an amazing vegetarian chef. She showed me pictures of what she's going to make. Oh my God. So she's going to be creating some amazing munchies, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be I'm really looking forward to it.
So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Feed Your Chakras.